Okay, so a lot of you may already be familiar with how to use spreadsheets to input data and then also to graph that data. Um, but you may not be familiar with how to use it to get best fit lines, sometimes called trend lines, and even how to derive equations from those that could be useful for finding things like we found in the lab. For instance, the y-intercept, which was the mass of the empty cylinder, or the slope, which was the density. So I'm going to show you how that can be done kind of automatically for you on the computer. And we're going to use spreadsheet you have access to, hopefully, and that is the Google Docs. So you go to the Google Docs and you want to open a sheet. Go to Sheets, and this is just very similar to an Excel spreadsheet. And you want to just do a blank. And you can just put the data in just like you did in the class. I haven't done it pre-formatted for you, but I'm going to put in some easy numbers here. Again, make sure there are no units. So we'll go 20, 55, and then we'll go 40. This will be an obvious line here, 60, and then we'll go 60, 65, 80, 70, 100, 75. Except I'm going to put a little, these each go up by 20 and these each go up by 5, so it's a nice continuous thing. I'm going to throw that off a bit by making this 60 into an outlier. We'll say that was a 57. Okay? So there's my data. Those might be volumes and those might be masses, for example. So you're going to click on the upper left-hand one, push down the Shift button, and then click on the other one. Or simply click and drag so you have all those highlighted. Okay? And then you're going to go to Insert, Chart. And there it is. We can scoot this off to the side so it's not on top. We can also make it a little smaller here. Okay? That's not the kind of chart I wanted though. And open up here is a chart editor. And the very first thing is chart type. I don't want a column chart. So I click on this little tab and I'm going to scroll down. There's what I want. I want what's called a scatter plot. There it is. Okay? And it's not giving me a 0, 0 origin. We'll deal with that in just a bit. But I can see these lines and I can see a definite outlier that I made into an outlier. Okay? Now let's make these a little bit more spread out. So over here we're going to go on Customize. And horizontal axis, one thing we're going to do, click on that and then scroll down and have the minimum value be 0. Okay? Look what I just did. And then we're going to do the same for the vertical axis if we need to. Scroll down here and make its minimum 0. Okay? There is a graph of the data with a 0, 0 on it. So now you're going to go to under Customize. This is all under Customize. Go back up to Series. And you're going to add a trend line. It just drew a best fit line, but it did not ignore the outlier. You can perhaps see that this trend line starts off being pretty much through them, but then it goes down. And if that outlier weren't there, it would just go through the other 4 points straight up because they're essentially perfect data. But with that outlier there, The other thing we're going to do is have it show the equation. Okay? So for that, under Series, it has linear, and you can put different things in there, but that's what we want. And then their label, it says none. We're going to click on this and say use equation. So this is the equation right here for that line. Y equals 0.265 times x plus 48.5. Y equals mx plus b. If this were a density lab like we just did with the graduated cylinders, 48.5 would be the mass of the empty cylinder, and 0.265 would be the density of the solution. But I want to show you how, okay, that's one value, but I really want to ignore this, and it won't ignore it for me. So you can just go up here and we'll delete this point. You can actually delete either one of these, okay? And it'll get rid of it. So I'll delete that. Boom. It now adjusts it, gives me the new equation, y equals 0.25x plus 50, and that's more in keeping. We could see that if we went back from 20 to 0, my 55 would be a 50. Okay? So that's a nice little feature I want you guys to be familiar with that you can use for graphing data on a spreadsheet, but then also analyzing that data to get a best fit line, trend line, and the slope of that trend line along with the y-intercept. Okay? So you're going to be needing this for the Kia.